Good evening, and welcome to the November 25th, 2014 Town Board meeting for the Town of Ossining. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Wilshire.
Here.
Councilmember Harder.
Present.
Councilmember Blaha.
Present.
Councilmember Jeffrey.
Present.
And Supervisor Donnelly. This evening we have the public hearing in the matter of the 2015 tentative budget. Are you going to give an overview?
Am I going to give an overview? I guess the answer is yes. We sort of went over this in finer detail at the town hall meeting on the 18th, which was last Tuesday.
Can you hear her, Tom? Okay. Can you hear her back there? Can you hear Maddie? Okay.
But the supervisor's 2015 budget, we actually turned in a couple days early on October 28th. It's posted on the Town of Ossining website, along with all of the backup documentation that you would find in front of the hard copy of the budget, including the budget message, some facts and figures about how tax rates are arrived at, and what an average assessment is in the different areas, and then what the average property tax would be in those areas based on what special districts you fall in, village, unincorporated, et cetera. Basically, I'm not sure what highlights to share with you. I think the sentiment this year is one of cautious optimism. We have seen some pretty good years the past couple of years, due in part to a little bit of the recovering economy, but also due to an uptick in consumer confidence, and then also the measures that this board has gone to in order to reduce expenses. So we are actually able to have a 0% tax increase in the unincorporated area. A lot of that has to do with the shifting police contract and the amount of money that's not being spent on the county and rather on the Village of Ossining Police.
Go ahead.
Sorry. And what else? The Recreation IMA is also a highlight. We moved it out of the Town General Fund into the Unincorporated Area Fund, basically as a service to make sure that everyone is paying only their fair amount for recreation. In the past, it had been that folks were paying for it twice if they lived in the Village of Ossining, and now they're only paying for their recreation services once. We still have contingency funds. We still have our 6-year capital plan. There's a 1.6% increase in the rate for Town General. If there's anything I'm missing, please let me know. But we stayed under the tax cap. We have a little bit of overage for next year should we require it. This is the first year of the tax freeze, which basically makes it so that no municipality can break the tax cap. You're basically not allowed to pass the law allowing you to do that. So we really didn't have a choice, but the supervisor was pretty adamant that we wouldn't break the tax cap no matter what. And so I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any, but otherwise
Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have anyone who would like to address the board during this public hearing? If so, please come to the podium and state your name and residential address.
Good morning. My name is Gerald Wunderlich. I live on North Water Street, and I went to the town offices yesterday, November 24th, along with Mark Fry, and there was no public notice of this meeting posted on the town bulletin board. In fact, we have only received a legal notice, was requesting it from the town clerk, who retrieved it from a legal notice in an envelope on her desk. This meeting is not properly noticed, and therefore the public hearing cannot be held. No notice was posted 10 days prior to the meeting on the town board or in local newspapers. Furthermore, the legal notice incorrectly mentions the budget beginning January 1st, 2014, so the legal notice is defective. Just my personal comments.
Mr. Wunderlich, first of all, the legal notice was published in a timely fashion. We do post
On the bulletin board.
well, that doesn't mean we didn't put it there. There's a lot of times that when people or residents will come in and they will take the legal notice off the bulletin board and put it in their back pocket. So it's not something we can check on a daily basis, but it was posted in a timely fashion.
We also spoke about it at several meetings. We spoke about it at the town hall meeting. We talked about it at every meeting that we were having. It is on the town webpage. You open up the agenda, and it is right there. There was some conversations, and we'll talk about that later, that it was not properly posted on the webpage. All of our agendas are posted the same way. You open up a link just like every other community does. So, you have any comments, Council?
I rely on the comments of the town clerk, whose responsibility it is to follow the law in terms of publications. And if the town clerk states that it was properly published and you have the proper affidavits of publication and proof of publication, plus you have the your own statement stating that you posted the notice on the bulletin board as well as on the website, then I think that is sufficient.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
Good evening. My name is Gloria Freed. I live at 22 Ryder Road in the village of Ossining in the town of Ossining, and I'm the elected receiver of taxes for the town of Ossining. I would like to make a statement for the public record. I've been a public servant in this town for 21 years. I served 8 years under Marie Gagliardi, the previous receiver of taxes, where I was hired to help clean up the conversion from paper to computers and to automate the liens and the foreclosure process. When she retired, I ran for the position, and I've served 13 years, and I'm in my 4th term as elected receiver of taxes. During these 21 years, I've worked for 5 supervisors: William Burton, John Trevokis, Martha Dodge, Catherine Borgia, and Sue Donnelly. And during 20 of those 21 years, we were able to provide in the tax office what I think of as exceptional public service, able to serve the public coming in to pay taxes, answer their questions, take their phone calls, and provide the documentation that they required when they called us for help with an escrow problem, a tax problem, or any other problem, even when they called about things that weren't even tax related. It seems that after 20 years of operating the office with 2 deputies and part-time help at the seasonal times of year when tax collection became very heavy, in late 2013, the board and the supervisor proposed a budget that made decisions that appear to many to be intended to significantly decrease and diminish the services that my office provides to the public. I'd like to identify some of those decisions, and I'd like to have this in the record. The first item was to eliminate one of the deputy positions. This has now left the office at times in a position where nobody is there to handle questions. When one person is on vacation and another goes to lunch, there is nobody in the office. The part-time seasonal people who came in at the end of the months of January, April, September, and December, when collection was heavy, that position was eliminated. I have nobody at all who can come in, no trained people at all who can come in now and cover the office. If we have a time when everybody needs to go to training, when we do have those periods, there is nobody trained now to come in, because if you're not getting employment, you're going to find it elsewhere. And so the people that had been trained, I hired one as my new deputy, and the others have found other employment. The 2 deputies who worked in my office last year both retired, and one of those positions was the one that was eliminated. It was replaced by a part-time person who was in my office but shared with the assessor's office, which means that we go back and forth as to if she wants to take a course in Excel, then we have to figure out whose time is it coming off of, and that left the office uncovered for a lunch this last week. A third decision was the refusal to fund software that would electronically copy checks at $550 per minute, and also a second piece of software that would provide us with an image cash letter able to electronically deposit checks to our bank account without having to provide bags and stamping the back of each checks. It would have speeded up operations. But further, it would have provided more security for the office because our agreement with the courier does not cover checks. It only covers the ability to reconstruct a deposit, which means we need to have those copies, and you cannot stand in the public area of my office in front of the copier and make copies of checks 3 at a time, especially during those heavy periods of the collection. A fourth decision meant to diminish not only the service that the office provides, but the stature of the office, was to slash the receiver's salary by 45%. That brought it down below the level it was 18 years ago when Marie Gagliardi was the receiver. And the amount that is proposed to be restored in this year's budget for 2015 leaves it well below what it was when I first took office 13 years ago when I ran for the first time. I'd like it on the record that I am also the enforcement officer for the town of Ossining, in addition to the receiver. That means this is not a clerical job. This isn't a position where we accept a check and make a deposit. It's also a position where we send out delinquent letters. I have to run the foreclosures. I have to collect the delinquent liens. At any one time, I have 4 years' worth of delinquent taxes open and in collection and in enforcement every year at every time. We have the current year's tax, which people have not yet paid and which we are trying to collect. Then we have the second year's tax. These are the people who have already been 1 year delinquent. Their taxes have been rolled into liens, they're filed with the county, and we're now enforcing delinquent liens. The third year is the foreclosure stage, and I actively work. Last year we had 45 properties in the foreclosure stage, and I actively work with these homeowners, bringing them before this board to get a payment plan or to have extra time to redeem. And if I go back through and look at your board resolutions, I see many, many resolutions that I've brought before you that are pertaining to people who have been in foreclosure, waiting for a payment plan, waiting for ability to sell their property and at least gain something. And the fourth stage is the auction stage. And this year, I ran from start to finish, from creating the mailings, creating the marketing materials, creating the website materials that Dean so graciously loaded for me, creating all of the ads that were in the newspapers, and auctioning and serving as auctioneer. And that auction was so successful that it garnered more than $500,000. And when the closings are completed and the town has collected that money, the excess revenue above and beyond the taxes and interest will garner this town more than 12 times the amount that I am asking you to restore to my salary. I'd like to add that in the supervisor's message on her website, the supervisor acknowledged these activities that I do for the town. in terms of the success of the auction, the bringing forward of people for payment plans, the service to the residents who are in difficulty, and the compassion that I show to these people who really come to me and want to pay their taxes but need help. I'm asking the board to restore the public service that this office has provided to the town and to the town of Ossining, the residents, the taxpayers, the commercial property owners. I am asking the board to restore that public service that was here for 20 years and has been degraded in the last year. I am asking the board to please restore the part-time seasonal employees, because during the last few days, and I provided you with a chart, during 21 days, we collect 31% of $130 million. We collect that, and the lines go out the door, and we have had those lines this year, and that not only impacts people in my office waiting to pay, it impacts the people waiting for a parking space downstairs because they're upstairs in my office. I am asking the board to put the part-time tax assessment aide back in my office to sit at the desk in my office, and then to allow her to work on assessment items while she's seated in my office, because her computer could be there and access the assessment records. This would provide someone to answer the phone so that when one person is out, the other can at least go to the bathroom without locking the door. And you have to lock the door, because don't forget, this is the room that collects the money. So when we leave the room, we have to lock the door. I'd like this board to please fund the software. I would love to be able to provide for you the demonstration that I provided to the New York State Association of Tax Receivers and Collectors this summer, where I presented this software to Acclaim because they were very interested in ways to enhance security and also speed deposits, earning extra interest. And I was granted a scholarship to provide this presentation to the New York State Association of Tax Receivers. I would like to show that presentation to this board and grant your approval to have that software back in operation in the office. I already have the equipment, I just need the software. And fourth, I would like this board to restore the receiver's salary. I feel that during this past year, I have proven to you that I have earned that salary. I have garnered for this town a windfall in that auction, but not only that, I've also gotten to a point where we have the best record in Westchester County with no liens older than 2013. That is the oldest lien, and the only other liens that are open in our town are the ones that we still have to close on the properties. This is due to hard work. It's also due to my connections and with the tax service agencies and the automation that I provided. I'm asking the board to please grant those 4 restorations to the budget. Thank you.
Gloria,
Thank
may I
you.
have a copy of your statement?
Thank you.
I'll write it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who's come to address the board?
Good evening, how are you? Jeff Miller. I live up on Bellevue Avenue. I don't know if this is the right place to be doing this. I'm hoping that it is. I know this is kind of late in the game. I am the recently elected president of the Cedar Lane Dog Park Association, which I'm sure you are all familiar with our fine dog park we have in town here. Whether or not you were all aware of it, we have been funding the dog park operations out of our own pockets through member dues and stuff. And due to recent circumstances, we have come to find out that the town also runs a dog park at Ryder Park, and the town is providing all of that service for that dog park. So we are just trying to get maybe a line entered on the budget for next year, where maybe the town could consider including the Cedar Lane Dog Park and funding that as well as they do Ryder Park. And we're not talking a lot of money. I know you guys are dealing with a $1 million budget. We're talking $1,500 or $2,000 for the year. So that's all. I'm here just to be a representative for that and make a plea to try to get a little assistance with that. And like I say, it's a great asset for our town to have that dog park. A lot of people come up there and use it. We're one of the 10 best in the nation, and we're proud of that, and we think that helps our town and think it's worth the little bit of investment that we're looking for in return. And that's all. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you for your
very much.
comment.
Is there anyone else who's come to address the board?
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Freed. I live at 22 Ryder Road, Ossining, New York, town and village of Ossining. I am also one of 3 elected justices of the town court. The 2 other justices and I had an opportunity to review the supervisor's tentative budget, and we decided that we didn't request any changes be made to that budget, and I think Ann Malone has reported that to the budget officer. It's my request, however, that should the town board or should the supervisor change that tentative budget between now and when the budget is adopted, that the judges be provided with advance notice of that change so that we can review it, make a judgment as to whether or not we object or accept the changes, and if we object to the changes, sufficient time to bring that to the attention first of the budget officer, and then to the supervisor, and then, if necessary, the town board. That's my request, and that's the request of the town court.
Thank you, Judge.
Is there anyone else?
My name is John Van Steen. I'm a resident of Ossining at 78 South Highland Avenue. I'm here in Ossining, New York, and I was just going over the budget as an individual, and I had some questions on some of the line items. Some of these you've explained at the meeting the other night, so I'll try not to be redundant there. Others just popped up sort of as, why is this as it is in the budget? I guess my first question...
John, excuse me. Would you just lift up the microphone a little bit?
This is a different system from the one that we have over in the library?
Yes. You don't have to hold it quite so close to your mouth.
Okay. I guess before I get into any of the other stuff, Sue, you and I were chatting at a chamber meeting the other night and about the audio system at the library. And in our discussion, you had mentioned that there may be funds that had been set aside from Verizon or from other communications things that comes
We have 2 different funds that come out of the cable companies. One's
Right.
franchise fees, which go to the municipalities, and the other is called PEG money. We're
Okay.
actually waiting for our PEG money. That we've been negotiating contracts for quite a number of years, and same contract, but quite a number of years.
And is it that PEG money that could be used
Yes,
for
it is, and,
microphones at the library?
I've already had,
Okay.
actually, we've already had Craig Cooper go over there and check out the whole system, so he would know, because it leaves a lot to be desired, that mic system.
Thank you. I guess one of my questions is that with the recommended column for 2015, as opposed to the requested column I trust is from the department heads of the town, and the recommended column, who does the recommendations? Is that the town board? Is that the supervisor's office? Is that the person that puts together the budget?
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, so basically the requested is what is submitted, as you said, is submitted by the department managers.
Right.
We have meetings with the department managers following the adoption of the budget, or not the adoption, the tentative budget being published. And those in the second column are at the recommendation of the town supervisor. Usually, after we have some budget meetings, some preliminary budget meetings after that, we're able to work with the department managers and make some adjustments to those numbers. But I think this year we really have not had to.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. The administration, there's an administration, then there's a town board, right? The administration meets with the department heads. Then they help us formulate the budget. They give us their recommendations and stuff, and we work together on that. Then we have the supervisor's budget that comes out, and then we meet with them again with the board, whoever needs to meet with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do have some questions. I guess on page 1 of the budget, there are 2 lines there from 2014, interest and penalties on taxes. The adjusted in 2014 was $435,000, but the actual was $557,000. I was just curious as to why we got this extra $120,000, or is that just a change because in later, further down on that page, there seems to be a fines and forfeitures in which it's budgeted $225,000 and it drops to $124,000.
You know.
They seem to be equal offsetting amounts. So.
Yeah, don't let coincidences get you.
Right.
Yeah, because that's usually what it is. It's usually whatever gets put into that line. Our budgets are a little bit different. Do you see the lines he's talking about?
Yeah, I think Wayne might actually be able to better answer this question than can I, as far as what distinguishes fines and forfeitures from interest and penalties on taxes. And I think interest and penalties on taxes is pretty self-explanatory,
Right.
but as opposed to what would go into fines and forfeitures instead of.
Well, I'm only assuming, because I didn't review that, that portion of the budget, but fines and forfeitures could relate to perhaps court fines, in other words, on various building code matters. This could also be monies that come from vehicle and traffic violations that are allocated to the town as well, because there's a formula depending on which violations there are. Portions go to the town, portions go to the state, and I think that's what they're referring to in fines. That's certainly what.
Well, are you looking at that the actual versus the budgeted amount?
That's correct.
Okay, so remember that the actual is only as of that date.
Right.
So we still have a quarter. We still have
the year to date until
right.
the third quarter.
And a lot of times they run quite far behind,
Right.
like your mortgage tax and stuff like that runs far behind. So.
But essentially, it looks as if we had a little bit of a windfall in the interest and penalties.
Because we had some large, right, okay.
On page 2, we have the mortgage tax. And I understand that the mortgage tax here is at the end of the quarter, but we all know that the real estate market is now a lot lighter than it was before, and so presumably the amount that we would collect in mortgage tax would be down from previous years. Am I incorrect with that, Wayne?
I think that we're finding that it's about even with other years.
Okay,
and we've been very conservative with that number since 2013. We'd rather have an overage in that than to have and we're actually waiting. Tom, are we waiting for a third of the mortgage tax bills to come? There's only 2 payments, right? Yeah. So we're still waiting for the second payment.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. We don't want to over budget and then have a soft market or anything. Right.
Right. On page 7, with traffic violations. I noticed that salaries for traffic violations has dropped dramatically from last year. And so a question is why? Because this would presumably lead directly to revenue for the town coming in,
There-
Un-
Yeah, go ahead.
unless it has something to do with the change in policing with the village, but I don't believe that takes effect
No,
until
it
next
has
year.
nothing to do with that.
That it does not. We actually had a little bit of a change. So if you look down at where you see part-time, which is just a few lines below where it says personal service regular,
Okay.
we actually moved, there's a young lady who works part-time at the window. She works in the afternoons. She had originally been in that first section, but that wasn't really appropriate because she's not full-time.
Okay.
So we moved her into the part-time. The other big savings that you're seeing is the woman who was actually, half of her salary was in that full-time line. She was split half between traffic violations and half between the court
Right.
general budget. She resigned and she went elsewhere. So we're able to hire somebody at the lowest step, so that was a savings of about $15,000 off of her salary.
Okay. And I guess Wayne partially answered my question before. Where's the income from fines other than parking violations? Because those are clearly on page 1, but you
All
mentioned
the
that.
revenues are lumped.
Always your revenues are at the beginning of a budget and your expenses are after that.
The, I'm not sure if you touched on this at last week's meeting, but on page 8, there's a dramatic increase in the salaries for the supervisor's office.
Yes, we are having a, well, we've put it in a lot of our supervisor updates. We've talked about it at most of our meetings. What we're doing is we're hiring a third person. We've been working with 2 people in a 3-person office for 3 years. We need to work on we don't have time to do the grants and to do, we have a time clock system we want to really work. And some people may think that that's frivolous, but we don't think it's frivolous at all. We've saved a lot of money having that time clock system in. And we have different areas that we need to concentrate on so that we're going to bring in a confidential secretary, which is something that 99% of the supervisors have. Maddie and I have just worked in that office alone for,
What is a confidential secretary?
it's a non-union position that is the secretary to the town supervisor.
On page 10, we addressed this partially at last week's meeting. I asked the question about the reasons for the salary cut in 2014 for tax collection. It appears as if that is continuing in the budget for 2015, unless I'm reading the figures incorrectly. Can the board say why this is? This is not under litigation, is my understanding,
What is not under
for
litigation?
2015.
It's an ongoing litigation, so.
Is it the feeling of the board that these salaries should be cut additionally for 2015 as they were in 2014?
I think what he's asking is whether or not 2015 is held by us not being able to talk about it due to the litigation.
Well, I think we have different, I'm sorry?
I'm not really understanding the question.
Oh, okay.
The question is, does the board agree with,
That was his question.
is that not what your question
Want me
was?
to rephrase?
Mhm.
The, I'm with the department head's request for funds versus the recommended allocation for funds by the town supervisor. Is this allocation in support of the 2014 salary of roughly $40,000 for the tax collector, for the head of the department?
I think if the question, I mean, again, since we discussed this to some degree last week, if the question is related to the reasons behind this board's decision last year in terms of cutting the salaries, then my advice not to discuss it again at this point because it's a matter in litigation holds. If the question is whether the board feels that the salaries for 2015 are appropriate in the board's opinion, then of course the board can answer that.
Well, first of all, the salary for the receiver of taxes for 2014 was $50,000, not $40,000. So it's increased to $60,000 this year because we feel that there's been some improvement in some of the things that we brought up in 2014.
Okay. But not a restoration back to the 91,000?
No.
before?
No, but that's what we're listening to this public hearing for, and we are still in discussion. That was the tentative supervisor's budget. It's not the final budget yet.
Okay. And then turning to page 72.
I would like to answer. I was asked a question. I'd like to answer it. If you're asking if I, as a board member, are in agreement with the way the salary is in the budget at this time for the receiver of taxes, I'm not in agreement. I do believe it should be increased.
What page do you want to go to now?
72.
Your budget is a little bit different than ours, so why don't you tell me what you're looking at?
This is the highway street administration expense. The first line is personal services regular.
Okay.
And on this line, we note that the salaries in 2012 were $123,000, in 2013 $129,000. In 2014, they were $108,000. The request there is for salaries of $144,000 for that department, and the supervisor's recommendation is $101,000. Does that also continue with the pay decrease for Michael O'Connor as the superintendent of highways?
It's he did get an increase over last year, and it also is concerning the fact that I'm trying to think of what's her title.
Yeah, it's the office manager.
Office manager. I just wanted to get the right title. So the office manager is retiring at the end of January, and she's coming back as a part-timer. One of the critical areas in that department is doing the payroll. It is very complicated. She's very good at it, and she can, we have decided, with Mr. O'Connor, by the way, to try this for a year and see if a part-timer can do the job in there, because most of the activities that she does can be done in that kind of time frame.
Is Mr. O'Connor's salary being restored in this?
It's restored. It's an increase over last year.
But it's not restored to what it was 2 years ago?
No.
Okay. I do take note to the board that the salaries of these positions are substantially less than they are in communities surrounding us. So that I believe that we're getting a good bang for the buck out of the pre-cut salaries for both of these positions, so that I would urge the board to restore those salaries back to their 2013 levels when they review the rest of this budget.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board?
Hi, my name is Jerry Wunderlich. I'm live on North Water Street. I would just like to comment further on John Francine's comments about the head of the highways and the head of the tax collection. Both of these people are professionals. They need professional. They deserve a professional pay. I think to have a meeting behind closed doors to cut their salary was incorrect, and I would urge you to raise their salaries back to what they should be. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Is there anyone else? Not seeing anyone. I'll call for a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
No.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Oh, they already did it.
Eric Northern, you seconded?
Jeff seconded. Northern.
All All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, thank you for all your comments from this, on the public hearing on the 2015 tentative budget. Everything will be taken into consideration as we move forward in this process. I'm going to start with my announcement now, Madam Clerk. Good evening. As we continue to tweak the 2015 budget with new information and increases from our vendors, namely electricity and health insurance, two of our biggest regular expenses, we were notified on Friday by Governor Cuomo that Governor Cuomo had vetoed the peace officer legislation for which the town had asked. This legislation only concerned Ossining and our courts and would have allowed our court officers to carry a gun while on duty in the courts, if they were personally licensed to do so. The reasoning behind the governor's veto is that he would prefer a blanket peace officer legislation throughout the whole state, as opposed to a piecemeal legislation like ours that services one community at a time. While that would be preferable, the decision does not help us in our present situation, nor does it offer us assistance with the added expense. We have done what Albany has asked and consolidated our courts, but failure to support the town's request in this instance means that more tax dollars must be spent in order to pay an armed police officer to be present during the sessions of the town court. Despite the veto by the governor, we want to thank Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff and State Senator David Carlucci for supporting this legislative in their respective houses. As we began negotiations with the Village of Ossining for police services, we knew this outcome was a possibility and had preliminary discussions on what could be done within the contract. Now that the decision from Albany appears to be final, the village police liaison, Lieutenant Sylvester, is constructing a proposal on how we can handle these duties and the cost of this requirement. We want to thank everyone who contacted us concerning the 2015 budget. We have heard from many of you via email and phone, and got to hear from you in person at the town hall meeting and during tonight's public hearing. However, some of what we've heard is based on speculation. There is a difference between disinformation, misinformation, and factual information. Factual information is relayed after investigation and facts-finding is completed. It is important that no personal agendas be involved in the formulation of information to be distributed. Remember, as in any business, it is about what is best for the whole and not individuals. In the town of Ossining, there are no entitlements, there's no good old boys or gals clubs, and we do not bend to the argument, we always did it that way. As in any business, the CEO works for the shareholders and stakeholders, and in the case of a municipality, the CEO or supervisor and the town board work for the taxpayers, who, like stakeholders and shareholders, are able to vote their approval or their disapproval. Disinformation is the act of purposely giving out information that is not factual and in some cases completely incorrect. Misinformation is when somebody takes that disinformation they are given and distributes it to others without checking it for facts and or accuracy. At times, people have access to the correct information. At times, people who have access to the correct information distribute disinformation to benefit their cause, whether it is for personal gain or some goal that they feel is important. This is where our job is most disheartening, because the people look to these individuals for accuracy and have the right to expect the truth. As many of you are aware, George Weeks, new topic. As many of you are aware, George Weeks has resigned as chair of the planning board. We want to thank George for his many years of dedication to the town of Ossining and as the planning board chair. As we restructure the planning board, we will not be having the December 2nd planning board meeting concerning Highview Farm project. We will reschedule this meeting on a date that will be determined in January 2015. Like the December 2nd meeting we had planned, it has to be held in a large space, large enough to accommodate all who wish to be present. In the meanwhile, we will continue with other applicants and keep you updated concerning the dates and availability of these meetings. Along with the seat which George Weeks has resigned from, we have several seats on the planning board and some on the EAC, Environmental Advisory Committee, which expire at the end of the year. We will be putting out a request for resumes after the Thanksgiving holiday. Speaking of Thanksgiving, please note that the town departments are closed on Thursday and Friday. If the storm arrives as predicted, the Highway and Parks Department are prepared to do their usual outstanding job keeping the streets clean and safe. However, we hope the snow will pass us by so that our staff can spend time with their families and everyone who needs to travel will do so comfortably. We want to wish you each of you a happy Thanksgiving, and so that you may spend quality time with your family, friends, and loved one. Some exciting things are happening around the town this weekend, and we would like to mindfully shop local as often. We would like to remind you to shop local as often as possible. But this weekend marks the official Shop Local Saturday nationwide. We will be meeting at Westchester Stationery on Main Street on Saturday, November 29th at 9 a.m. for coffee, and then start our holiday shopping right here in Ossining. Small business are the backbone of our economy. Let's make sure we support them through the holiday season. Don't forget about our many stores on North State Road. Our businesses there, you can do a lot of your shopping in a few short blocks. You will find delicious places to eat, luxurious places to pamper yourselves, and shops that will help you mail your packages, along with plenty of places to purchase holiday gifts.
Are there any other announcements? Okay, we'll move on to public comments on agenda items. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on any of the agenda items? Not seeing anyone, we'll go into board resolutions. Resolved, the town board of the town of Ossining hereby approves the November 12th, 2014 minutes of the regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved, the town board of the town of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated November 25th, 2014, in the amount of $287,341.78. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Local Law 4 of 2014 for the purpose of changing the town taxable status date from June 1st to May 1st.
That actually should say local law number 5 of 2014.
Oh, no, it had to be changed to
Had to
number
be
4.
changed to local law number 4 because we have not adopted.
Even though we had a public hearing
Yes,
called number
it
4.
must be adopted because when I send it to Albany, if they see 5 and they don't have 4, they send it back.
And the reason, just so the public knows, it's over actually a development in front of the planning board that was going to be local law number 4, so that will become local law number 5.
Be it enacted by the town board of the town of Ossining, New York as follows. Section 1, title, this local law shall be known and cited as local law number 4 of 2014 for the purpose of amending chapter 180 of the town code taxation law regarding the taxable status date for the town of Ossining and adding an Article 10 to the taxation law. Section 2, legislative intent. The town board would like to improve the ability of the assessor to correctly identify on a timely basis all exemptions which town of Ossining property owners are entitled to on a yearly basis by adding certain provisions to Chapter 180 of the Ossining Town Code, providing for a change in the taxable status date in the town of Ossining from June 1st to May 1st, such change being authorized under Section 383.141 of the laws of the County of Westchester. This local law is determined to be an exercise of the legislative powers of the town to promote the welfare of residents and to alleviate timing difficulties on the part of the assessor in processing exemption applications. Section 3, Chapter 180 of the laws of the town of Ossining taxation shall be amended by adding an Article 10, which will read as follows. A, under Section 283.141, one of the laws of the County of Westchester County, the taxable status date for towns in Westchester County is June 1st of each year. By local law number 3 of 2008,
God bless.
the County of Westchester amended Section 283.141 to allow a town to elect May 1st of each year to be its taxable status date. B, the town board finds it to be in the public interest and does hereby elect May 1st of each year as the town's taxable status date in order to alleviate timing difficulties on the part of the assessor in accepting and processing exemption applications in order to meet the annual deadline for publishing the tentative assessment roll. Section 4, ratification, readoption, and confirmation. Except as specifically modified by the amendments contained herein, the Code of the Town of Ossining as adopted, amended from time to time thereafter is otherwise to remain in full force and effect and is otherwise ratified, readopted, and confirmed. Section 5, inclusion in the code. It is the intention of the Ossining Town Board, and it is hereby enacted, that the provisions of this local law shall be included in the Code of the Town of Ossining, and that the sections and subsections of this local law may be renumbered or red-lettered to or accomplished such intentions, and that the word local law shall be changed to chapter, section, or other appropriate word as required for codification. Section 6, renumbering. The location and numerical designation of this local law and the sections included here in shall be delegated to the discretion of the codifier, General Code, which may renumber this local law in sections as are necessary and accommodate these amendments. Section 7, codification. This local law shall be incorporated into the Code of the Town of Ossining and shall be assigned a chapter number and appropriate section number by the codifier, General Code, in accordance with the numbering system of the Code. Section 9, codifiers changes. This local law shall be included in the Code of the Town of Ossining. The codifier shall make no substantive changes to this local law, but may renumber, rearrange, and edit it without first submitting it to the Ossining Town Board. Any such rearranging, renumbering, and editing shall not affect the validity of this local law of the provisions of the code affected thereby. Section 9, codifiers changes. The provisions of this local law are separable, and if any provision, clause, sentence, subsection, word, or part thereof is held illegal, invalid, or unconstitutional, or inapplicable to any person or circumstance, such illegibility, invalidity, or unconstitutionality, or inapplicably shall not affect or impair any of the remaining provisions, clauses, sentences, subsections, words, or parts of this local law, or their petition to other persons or circumstances. It is hereby declared to be the legislative intent that this local law would have been adopted if such illegal, invalid, or unconstitutional provision, clause, sentence, subsection, word, or part had not been included therein, and if such person or circumstance to which the local law or part hereof is held inapplicable had been specifically exempt therefrom. Section 10, effective date. This local law shall take effect immediately upon adoption and filing with the Secretary of State as provided by the Municipal Home Rule Law. Do I have a motion?
Second.
I have a question. In section 5, it says that the sections and subsections of this local law may be renumbered or red letter 2. What is red letter 2 or read letter 2?
R-E-D, red letter.
Well, yeah, okay. What, re-lettered? So it should be, so it should be re-lettered, okay.
Oh, re-lettered.
So moved as
Yes.
amended?
That was why that whole other paragraph.
I was like, what?
So I just want to remind everybody, this is a roll call vote, but I just want to remind everyone that this is about changing the tax status so that you get your, exemptions. I couldn't think of exemptions right then. Yeah, all your exemptions in by May 1st. There'll be tons of reaching out programs. Well, the assessor's office will be contacting everyone, especially the seniors that have to renew their STAR every year. We spent last year going around to the different veterans groups, so we'll continue to do that. So there'll be a lot of outreach by the assessor's office and this town board and every department in the town to make sure that everybody has knowledge of this new date.
Supervisor, that's a roll
Yes? What do we say?
Aye. Yes or aye is fine.
Aye.
Councilperson Harder.
Aye.
Councilperson Wilshire.
Oh.
Councilperson Blaha.
Aye.
And Supervisor Donnelly.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Ossining on October 28, 2014, authorized the town clerk to advertise a request for bids for the delivery of meals and supplies for the nutrition program. And whereas the bids were to have been submitted no later than 10 a.m. on Monday, November 17th, to the office of the town clerk, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby authorizes an extension of this deadline to December 1st, 2014, with bids to be opened at 10 a.m. in the office of the town clerk. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Can I ask why it's being extended?
Because the notifications to the food vendors did not seem to go out properly. So we wanted to make sure that we had a good set of bids on the foods. Let me just explain what this is. This is, we do a meal program every day, Monday through Friday, for the seniors in Ossining. Some of them go home. They actually get dropped off at their home, and some seniors come into the community center, the Joseph G. Caputo Community Center. So this is to supply the food for those, and we wanted to make sure we got everyone that was looking to bid. So we wanted to extend it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign a renewed retainer agreement with Von Schoenig and King, PLLC, to continue serving as labor counsel for the Town of Ossining from the years 2015 through 2017, according to the terms and conditions of their letter dated November 3rd, 2014, and in a form acceptable to the town attorney. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
I have a question.
Yep.
How long have they been our labor council?
Very long time. Yeah, I would say 10, closer.
Okay.
This is our labor council. They do our labor negotiations with us, and we have two unions in the town. We have the Teamsters and we have the CSEA, and they do all of when any issues come up or anything like that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have no correspondence to be received and filed. We have no monthly reports. That brings us to visitor recognition. Is there anyone who's here this evening that would like to address the board?
Hi, my name is Liz Feldman. I live at 122 Underhill Road, Ossining, New York. It just occurred to me, as you were talking about misinformation and disinformation, as I was going through the website to look at the budget today, I noticed under Lewis Ingle Waterfront Park that you still have the old FEMA map up, and I know we had provided you with a copy of the new FEMA map. So I guess it's going from misinformation to disinformation if you don't change the map.
The
to
new
current
maps,
one?
I'll check it tomorrow, but the new maps are not adopted yet, so we have to make sure they're adopted. But I'll definitely check it. and
Okay,
see.
yeah, I just,
Yeah. No, thank you for that. Anytime you find something, especially on the webpage, that's a problem, we want to get it corrected as soon as possible, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Not seeing anyone, I will call for a motion for adjournment to executive session for legal advice.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So again, this is the end of the meeting of our November 25th. It's hard to believe we only have one more month in the year of 2014, but we want to make sure everybody has a great Thanksgiving and enjoy the weekend. Again, the offices are closed on Thursday and Friday this week, and they're closed on the weekend too. But if you have any issues come up or anything, please contact the police. We are still if you live in the unincorporated area, we are still part of the Westchester County Police. So, and the Village of Ossining and the Village of Briarcliff. So have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your family and friends. And next Wednesday at 6:15, we'll be at work session on Tuesday. But next Wednesday at 6:15 will be the beginning of the light lighting of the Christmas tree, the holiday tree at in the center of town. So have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.